right, so we hit that magic 25, 7:30. So we'll get started. So I am KJ Fury, the current president of Rugby, New Jersey, and I truly want to thank you for your time, for jumping on our call tonight for our AGM meeting. Certainly, this year brought some new challenges to many people at different levels, and we wish everyone well, and certainly we're hoping for a much better 2021. But amongst all of this mess, we still managed to, I think, see a few shining points through our 2020 fiscal year. And I'd like to share some of those highlights with you. So what we're planning to do tonight is go over a few things that did occur, give you a little insight as to where we stand as far as membership and finances, introduce some of our newer board members, and have some short reports. So if all goes well, we should be off this call in about an hour. We'll be able to take some questions, and we'll be looking forward to the new year. So we'll get started. So this is our current board. Right now, we will be in position through the end of 2021. I'll be sitting in at the president's spot, Terry Matthews as the vice president, and as also our 15th chair. We do have an opening with our president-elect. So we are looking to kind of, make some movement in our board so that we keep it fresh, pull more people in, and certainly keep it active. Aaron Elliott is our treasurer and has done an amazing job this year. With the reorganization of USA Rugby and some of the new funding platforms, it has been a challenge, and he worked, put hours into the effort of getting everything streamlined and did a fabulous job. Diane Dabulis has been our secretary for many years. She certainly is our contract guru, also helping us with the other legalese type of things we need to look at. Brendan Towell stepped in early 2020 into the Northeast I guess it was a committee of the Northeast SROs to kind of be our representative. That committee was short-lived because it was working through the USA Rugby organization. We asked him if he would like to jump on as our sevens director for next year, and he said yes. So he will be joining us as our sevens director for 2021 year. We had a vacant spot with our boys U12, U14 director, and we really want to bring this sector to life with a real season. And Brian Pomerang from Franklin Rugby has jumped on our board and has been following through with that. So it's wonderful. Jen Jones is going to have a dual role this year as the girls director, as well as our education director for coaching and referee classes, working with USA Rugby. I'm kind of filling in as the Development North person, with some other volunteers, but really the bulk of the development work is through Kirk Gruba and Chris Washburn, who together are a dynamic duo. Chris Washburn just doesn't stop. Kurt has a wealth of knowledge and experience in starting clubs and has been really making some great strides in South Jersey. We are still looking for a compliance officer. And that will be somebody really to work with our rosters. That's a position that a lot of that work will be done online, kind of on your own and timeline. So if anybody's interested, we can certainly explore that with you. And then Pat Maroney moved out of our sevens position into our communication role. And we're going to really look to utilize social media, our website, and our communication tools that are out there. So we really have I think, a really strong board. people who are committed and dynamic to help lead this group. Brian Sheehy did resign from the board, and I truly want to thank him for his service over the last 3 years. He has been the voice of our championship day, calling the games play-by-play, and he will be staying on to help us with championship day as a committee member. So we were very excited about that. Some of our committees, our disciplinary committee, and this is really looking at any cards that the players get, working with the referee society to kind of look at the violations that as they come through. John Sutherland, Simon Perry, and Frank Danello have all stepped up to and stayed on to handle that. Working with our communications committee. Oh, I lost Connor's last name there. Connor Holman and Zach Lanning. Connor is a student at St. Joseph's University. Zach is a graduate of Holy Cross. Both have an interest in communication and will be working with Pat Maroney on our social media spectrums. Diane Ramage will stay on with our college fair, which we'll tell you a little bit more about. We're going to do a virtual program this year. We'll fill you in on that a little bit later on. And as I said, Brian Sheehy will be here for our our championship day. Working on the Sevens platform, Ian McKenzie from St. Peter's and Greg Conover will be working with Brendan on our seven. So we should have a good start base for next fall season. But certainly we need some additional help. We're looking for some people to help with some of our fundraising campaigns, some of our special events, and certainly with kind of helping Jen with hosting our coaching and referee education programs. So these are some things that you can kind of put out to your local rugby communities to see if anybody has a special interest or a special talent. We certainly can kind of mold a position for them. Any questions on that? I don't see anything in the chat room there. So I think I will move on to membership. All right, so with our membership, these are numbers from 2017 to 2020. Now, 2020 really was a very shortened season. The season was shut down with COVID in March. But overall, we have seen a decline in players. We were down in our high school brackets from 2017 to 2018, down from 719 to 523, and then down again in 2019 to 448 players. So we have certainly seen a significant decrease. We've also seen those same type of numbers fall on our U12 and U14 programs. Now, as far as our flag programs go, the flag programs are really running independently. For a few years early on, they were registering with USA Rugby. Most of them have their own insurance and really have their act together and running their teams and clubs and don't need much assistance. So we really don't have a true accurate number on the number of flag players in the state. But my guess is those numbers are dwindling down as well because we're not funneling these players into the U12, U14, and then into the high school programs. So this is something as a community, I think we really need to look at and kind of put a plan together. Our development team will give you a little bit of an update on what they've been doing and what the movement is going forward, but this is really where it stands. We keep hearing USA Rugby talk about the fastest growing sport in the nation. Well, their numbers are similar to ours. And looking at the other SROs in New York and Pennsylvania, they've had similar fallout as well. And unfortunately, the girls' high school division in all of the states has really been the biggest drop on the East Coast. So we certainly have some work to do here. When we're looking at our teams, this is kind of where our team stood for 2019 to 2020. We're trying to get a handle on right now what teams will be viable for the spring. Terry Matthews will address the high school portion, and our other directors, Brian will address U12 and U14. But one of the things we need to start to think about and to reach out to our current players or players from past years, are they going to be playing? And if so, are our clubs and teams going to be able to field a team, and in what fashion, so that we can plan accordingly? So one of our most attended programs was our College Fair and Combine. It occurred in February, just prior to the COVID shutdown. We had 49 college programs, 94 players register for this. And we put them through a series of agility testings. We documented all their findings. We shared their findings or their data stats with their coaches and with the players. Many of them have used these numbers as they build their rugby resume. And it has worked really well to give them a start of kind of seeing where they benchmark themselves against their teammates and their other players as well, and also gives them a time for growth. The colleges just love this program. We've gotten many, many compliments that it's the best run college fair program on the East Coast. A few other states have mirrored this program, but I really have to give Diane Ramage a hats off to this for coordinating the colleges, getting them the information, and truly making it happen. Unfortunately, I don't foresee us being able to hold an event of this type this year. Hopefully we'll be able to put it on the calendar for the following year, but you know, we'll have to see where we come to with that. Our webinar series, which we started a couple years ago, we had 2 sessions with Karen Fong Donahue from Rugger's Edge. Again, 2 very well received webinars where she went through the college process, how to prepare a resume, what to look for in college rugby programs. Many of the parents did send us back some feedback, and they were amazed at the different types of rugby programs. Many parents weren't aware of the different levels of play, the commitment difference between a top level program and say a club program. So again, these programs received very worthy. Roz Anderson from the New York Referee Society did a tackle and ruck program for us. And again, she had some nice video and film. And it seems like the webinar series is a good way to get some information out. Pat Maroney will give you a little bit more information on our webinar series that we have going for this year. Thursday evening, Lindenwood University will be highlighting their women's rugby team. That Zoom link is on our website, and Bill Nichols and his coaching staff, along with some of his players, will be highlighting that women's program. So certainly if you have any girls that are interested, jump on that as well. When we look at some of our finances, again, with a short year this year, we did collect some registrations. We have a total revenue of $37,524. Our total expenses for the year, $31,382, with a net revenue of $6,000. Remember, our fall 7 season did go off last year, which is an expensive endeavor with field space and referees and athletic trainers and ambulance fees. but we did receive some in-kind donations and
looks like KJ may have frozen. I will text her. She was having some internet problems. So I'm gonna walk away and text her and see if she realizes.
$1,000 from Safe Kids Northern. They certainly were very generous.
There you go. And KJ, you just we lost you for a few minutes. About a minute. That's all.
All right.
KJ, we lost you from the in-kind donations, so you can go back to that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Donations. Okay. All right. I don't have the best internet here, so I do apologize. So our in-kind donations, we had field space from Union and CBA. We also had some referees, Chris Cowan and Tom Sullivan, who did donate back their referee fees. So certainly that was very generous of them. Grants we received in this fiscal year were $1,000 from Safe Kids Northern New Jersey through Morristown Medical Center. We also received a $500 grant from Investors Savings Bank, or the Investors Foundation, which went through towards some of our player expenses as well. Our Giving Tuesday campaign for last year, we brought in, I think it was about $700, and these were some of our donors here. I could tell you this year we are already at $2,600. So we really pumped it up tremendously with some very generous donations as well. We have a few more that are still clearing, but we will be reporting back on those within the next few weeks. So during once I guess we went into lockdown, our season ended, is just about the time that USA Rugby was entering into their bankruptcy court and process. What came out of that as they were going through their bankruptcy court was certainly a reorganization, and part of it included a separate council to oversee youth and high school rugby. And that group is called the USA Youth and High School Rugby Association. And that is their website is www.usahsrugby.org. All right, let's see if this link works for me. This is their website. And really, this is a site I think all of you should truly start to become familiar with. You can register your teams right from here. It jumps right into the Sport Lomo registration platform. You can request a certificate of insurance yourself if you need it for your fields. All of the teams that are listed there, Rugby New Jersey has already paid for your registration fee to USA Rugby and this organization. So you are covered, you are up and running, and you can start registering players. You have additional safe sport information, information about the academies, and all of the contact information is there as well. Now, our representative, just trying to get this share back.
KJ, we didn't actually see the website screen. Oh, I didn't.
You didn't. All right.
Oh, I can see your the presentation.
You see the presentation. Okay. So the you'll have to click on it yourselves then. So it's USA Youth and Youth HSRugby.org. So that would be your USA Youth and High School platform. You could also get to the registration pages for Sport Lomo from USA Rugby as well. David Lime is our Northeast representative on the Youth and High School Council, and he has been, he is one, I think he's the vice president of Connecticut Rugby, and has been very, very helpful with us to move forward and really get things up and running. So we certainly want to thank David for his time and commitment as well. Also, the Youth and High School Council has a few committees that have been running to kind of formulate the process. And Chris Washburn and Connie O'Connor, both representing New Jersey, had volunteered to be on the non-contact, essentially the rookie rugby national committees, and they've been following up and representing New Jersey on those new initiatives. So as we get additional information, we will be sharing that with you. So out of this committee came one piece that's important is our registration fees. So when the Youth and High School Council was in negotiations with USA Rugby, one of the things they truly wanted to do was to lower the contact rugby fee for USA Rugby for our players. And they were able to cut it down from $35 to $25, with a portion of those fees going back to the USA Youth and High School Council, so that they could get up and running and essentially form some development activities that would come back to the SROs. So this is the breakdown of the fees. So for a contact U12, U14 player, the total fee would be $35, 14 going to USA Rugby, 11 going to the USA Rugby Youth and High School Council, and the Rugby New Jersey fee would be $10. At the contact high school division, $45 total fee, 14, 11, and 20 coming to USA Rugby. The one piece that they were not very successful in negotiating was the rookie rugby fees, which are quite high, in my opinion, and the opinion of many. But nonetheless, that's what they are. $20 total if you needed to register a player at the rookie rugby level or flag rugby level. The referee and administrator level, I mean, the referee and coaching fees are $70, $65 going to USA Rugby, $5 going to the USA Youth and High School. And Rugby New Jersey has decided not to charge any additional fees for our coaches, referees, or administrators. There are some SROs that have some hefty fees going back to the SROs there. So these are the fees that you will see through the website when your players and as coaches, administrators, and referees as you are registering. There is a process to multi-register for more than one team or more than one role. But right now they're still having some trouble with the uptake of that information, as well as with the coaching certifications, then still not uploading from the old site. And that's one of the things that Sport Lomo and USA Rugby are still working on. So we'll have to kind of just wait that out and see how it flies. So with this, I think we're going to turn it over to some of our committee reports. So Chris Washburn, I believe you're on. He'll fill us in on the development piece, which truly Chris and Kirk Gruber kind of head. So Chris?
Yep. All right. Yeah. So this slide here, I just want to do, this has been, I guess, a period of reflection for all of us, including those of us trying to develop rugby in the state. So, we're just trying to look back of what we've been able to accomplish, see where we need to go, et cetera. And this slide just kind of highlights from, back to 2016 and up to, right before the shutdown. All the rugby demos that we've held at either local elementary, high schools, or local YMCA's or recreation departments. I'm not going to go through all this whole list, but suffice to say that we've tried to average about, at minimum, 5 demonstrations a year. I thought we were making some really good progress in 2020 before everything shut down. I think the Rahway demonstration was supposed to be the Tuesday everything actually shut down. So that was quite frustrating on my end, given that it took about a year to get that scheduled. And I think that's just, part and parcel of just, rugby in general in the United States. Just, it takes a lot of time and effort to, reach out to schools and introduce rugby to, the general public. And, if you know me, I'm very passionate about this, and without a proper pipeline and introducing the youth rugby, introduce rugby to the youth, we're not going to have a strong, high school program across the state. So, the question on the bottom right is like, well, where do we go from here? And KJ, you can go to the next slide. I don't think I have control of it, do I, or not? You got it. So recently, if you don't know, Major League Rugby is very interested in growing, their sort of fan base through youth development initiatives, and with the New American Youth and High School, organization, they've reached out to us, and KJ and Kurt and I met with representatives of Major League Rugby to kind of brainstorm and see, what sort of is the plan in the future, what they have in mind. And you can go to the next slide, KJ. It's really kind of the same things we've been doing as far as, rugby in a bag, just introducing rugby to either a school, YMCA, rec department, et cetera, delivering a bag of rugby balls, demonstrating to, the adults and the kids how to play rugby, just teach them some basics, give them some materials and send them on their way. And then obviously what we've done, I think a great job in, is the flag rugby leagues, whether it's Morris all the way down to Jersey Shore, or even South Jersey, where Kurt's got that going as well. We've done a great job. And, I think it's good that Major League Rugby is, continuing to sort of help us out. Unfortunately, I think what I've learned recently, I don't know if Rugby United New York is really going to be able to help us, just given their current situation with COVID and just trying to, be a professional team, in despite of the current laws and restrictions in New York. So, KJ, go to the next slide, because I think, it's very similar to what we've been trying to do as far as creating flag leagues. And it's obviously a very easy entry point for kids to just to get the ball and run around and just do something. What they thought of, and it might be successful in Houston, some other places where the restrictions are not as tight, as having Friday night lights, and partnering with, as you see down at the bottom, like Football in America. I know, I guess, as a guy, Hogan in San Diego, he's actually reached out to Football in America to try to, get those kids who play football, to get them to play rugby in the spring if they're not involved in baseball or whatever sport. So they're trying that in late spring. Obviously, I don't know if there's a Football in America in New Jersey. I know there's Pop Warner and American Youth Football as well. And I've not had personally any success in reaching out to some of the local towns, but suffice to say, I think it's something that we need to continue to try to do on some level or another. And go to the next slide, KJ, because I think one way around just the restrictions that we've been, under the past, I don't know, 6-8 months, however long it's been, is, it's been tough to participate or hold, any sort of live demonstrations. But the one thing that I noticed, and what they mentioned on our call, is that the Houston SaberCats have held a couple of virtual rugby demonstrations. And this is kind of a snapshot I kind of copied from their website. And so on the left-hand side, it would be very similar to what we would do if we were in an actual, classroom or gym demonstrating how to play rugby, just giving them some basic rugby 101 as far as the rules, laws, et cetera. Obviously, the SaberCats have their own spin on it with, you know, the stadium tour and having some players online to talk about, you know, the rugby experience and things. But, you know, the second sort of session at the bottom, the at-home workouts, you know, looks like they have some ideas where I have a friend who teaches physical education at Ridge, and he does pretty much what's at the bottom there, doing yoga, you know, high intensity interval workouts, things like that. So, you know, it's something that I've seen that I may try with my friend at Ridge High School, kind of put together some sort of plan. I think, you know, we're going to be on our own as Rugby New Jersey to, you know, try to do some sort of virtual. And I see Brad has a question. Yeah, feel free to this. I want this interactive.
Not a question, but something that seems to be working out okay right now is there's a lot of athletes desperate for something to do. So we set up a lifting program. It helped that one of the guys on the team is one of the captains of the football team, but I've got a couple of guys who never played a second for us, but they're actually doing the rugby lifts. It's just a way of staying in touch. So we've got, you know, and I think we're trying to brand it as something like, you know, contact fitness or something like that to sort of get people ready for whatever spring sport they want to play, but get a little publicity. So anyway, it's just something for the kids to do.
Exactly. Yeah. If anyone else wants to chime in, feel free. This is my last slide. I didn't want to spend too much time. And if anything, I'll throw my email in the chat if you want to follow up later. I know Happy, I think, on the Zoom call now, but I mean, I definitely want to try something, a couple of things, whatever we can do this spring. I know we're going to try to have some, we'll see, we'll take stock, see if we can do a U12, U14s, obviously the high school as well. So, you know, if you have any connections or any ideas, feel free to send them my way. I know England Rugby has a number of sort of, you know, rugby demonstrations online that, you know, could be sort of be part of this virtual demonstration, but you know, there's a lot of hurdles just to get in the door, let alone try to engage people. So any questions or comments on development? Because I think, you know, I know there's a couple of programs that actually played, or at least I know, you know, Chris O'Brien, you had the Morris U14 girls. I had my, you know, flag kids running around. And I know the Jersey Shore, I don't know if anyone from Jersey Shore is on here, but I know Jersey Shore had probably a 4 to 6 week season to just get the kids out and running around in a, you know, safe manner. And I think it worked, and hopefully we can try to do something this spring. It just drove me absolutely nuts to see these baseball kids out there playing, and you know, rugby was just kind of on pause. So just for my own sanity, try to do something. So
the other thing that will be happening in February, the last few years we've been exhibiting and doing demonstrations at the New Jersey AFID conference, which is the New Jersey Physical Education, Health, Recreation, and Dance Association. It had been an in-person huge conference with about 1,200 participants at it. It will be a virtual event this year, and Kurt and myself will be putting together a virtual program utilizing some of the Rookie Rugby videos that are online to demonstrate some of the drills along with some of the skill sets. So that will, with our participation there, we will also get access, I just found out, to the mailing list of all of the physical education teachers in attendance. So that will really be a great tool for us to really bump out some information later on this year in hopes for the 2021 school year. So that should be helpful. Okay. Well, thank you, Chris. We appreciate all your efforts.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to move on now to our full sevens and new communications director, Pat Maroney.
Hi, everybody. So, you know, obviously in the challenging year, we approached the fall with the idea that we would try and get some fall sevens to happen. Union, Highlanders, Morris, St. Augustine, and CBA ended up getting teams on the pitch. The high schools decided that they didn't want to play clubs. That was a call by the athletic directors. So the high schools were lined up to play each other. And Highlander and Morris started off playing each other, and then Union joined in. St. Augustine and CBA had plans to have a couple of dates, but unfortunately, due to the schools being closed, in the end, we eventually only got one date. So we played on the 31st of October and managed to get 23 games of sevens in. I wasn't able to go to the club events, but I know KJ did and reported back they were incredibly successful. So there were a couple of reasons why I was very anxious to make things happen this year. You know, our goal is to facilitate our athletes' development and give them opportunities to play. I felt that if we hadn't have put a product on the field this fall, it would have made the spring much harder. The fact that we did it with the COVID protocols successfully means that there is a proof of concept and there's a framework for us to go forward. You know, it will be challenging, but you know, we did it. And even though, like I know at CBA, we had a couple of cases within the team, but because of the way we cohorted it and the protocols in place, it didn't affect any other players on the team. We did actually have a positive case immediately after we played St. Augustine, but again, it didn't affect either program. You know, it's been an incredibly successful few years, and I wish Brendan the best taking over the fall sevens, and I'll support him in any way I can. I think it's going to be very exciting going forward. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing what a fresh set of eyes and fresh energy brings to our fall sevens. So moving on to communications, I'm very, very excited to be going into this end of the board. You know, I'm excited to have Zach and Connor working with me. We've already had a meeting, and we basically are planning that 2021 will be our year of expanding our communications presence. Because there's three of us, it means we can divide up the work. So we've already decided how we're going to divide up our workload social media wise. We are, over the next few weeks going into January 1, we're going to plan on where our goals will be, and we'll publish that at the first board meeting of 2021. But expect to see over the next couple of weeks an increase in the amount of content on social media. And then once we get into 2021, you will see a program that will roll out. So there'll be social media posts planned on a weekly basis. So every day we'll be pushing content out. Some of the content will be ours. Some content will be from other sources. And then we're going to theme months as we go through the year. This is where we're going to start tying in some of the content that we'll be providing. So February, we're going to run a series of college webinars, 4 nights, 2 college coaches each night. And that will be basically our college month. This obviously is replacing some of the content that we deliver at our college combine. And then the second part of our webinars that we've already got planning is we would like the first Tuesday of every month to be Coach's Corner and to have a coaching centric webinar once a month. We think it's important that from a coach development point of view, that this is a year-long project. It's not going to be something that we drop into a month. And if we do it, you know, on a regular basis, on a regular night, it makes it much easier for everybody to expect and tune into it. Also, obviously, it's going to be very important that we engage our athletes where they are. So we're maybe not going to look to some areas of social media that we're on, being an older demographic. So there is an interest in us getting into where our athletes are and then getting them to post as well, because we think peer-to-peer communication is critical. I would ask that if any of you have any ideas for content or would like to deliver any content or have any webinar ideas, please email me and we'll have a discussion and get it on the schedule. I'm very excited, you know, for where we're going and to increase our professionalism and our ability to push out more and more content. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pat. Okay, is Jen, are you on? Would like to have our girls rugby update and our coach and referee education.
Yep.
Thank you.
So on the girls' side, there's not much to report for this year because obviously due to COVID, we lost our season before we really got started in the spring. And then we didn't have, I don't think any of the girls' teams played in the fall. Morris might have, I'm not positive. But we did have a couple of teams practicing. We did lose one team, Central Jersey. But on the bright side, we have a couple of teams that have a handful of girls, not enough for a full team, maybe enough for sevens next year. With Union, they had some girls practices. Highlander had some interesting girls, and Hudson Catholic has some girls interest. So hopefully we can get those clubs up and running. So if anyone has any girls that are interested, let me know so we can see how we can best help them. We did have some ideas about doing some clinics and stuff for the girls, especially since there's not a lot of teams in the area for them to play right now, so that we could help build the skills of all the girls across New Jersey. But obviously that didn't get to happen yet. So hopefully in 2021, we'll be able to facilitate that. Any questions about girls before I move on to the training piece? All right. So as KJ said, I took on the coach and ref development courses. So we will be looking to start those as soon as possible. I think we're looking to have our first ref course sometime in January. So be on the lookout for that. But I really think it's important that we build our coach and ref pool within Rugby, New Jersey, because it's really important to help recruit, nurture, and develop the refs and coaches that we have, but also to have new ones moving forward, so we don't have these issues where teams are falling off because they don't have any more coaches because the coach needed to move on or whatever the case may be. So I think it's really important that moving forward that each team tries their best to send a representative to attend both the coach and ref course that we're going to have coming up in the spring. And then also if anyone has a place where you can hold it, I think we have the first ones covered, but always moving forward, if you know of a place or if your school can host or something like that, feel free to reach out to me and we can try and work that out, because I'd like to have them across the state so they're not all just in one location.
The other thing I'll just fill in there as well is we are working with Rugby United New York to kind of utilize some of their players who may not be rostered week to week and may be in the area. If it's feasible, get them through a referee class and have them work to referee our spring season games as well. Certainly this was really in the works starting last fall, believe it or not. COVID again put some added restrictions on that. And certainly as Rooney settles out their roster and they're building their bubble, we'll see how we can incorporate that. But it's something on the horizon as well. All right. All right. Thank you, Jen. Brian, our newest member of Rugby New Jersey's board with our U12, U14 program. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks, KJ. Hi, everyone. Yeah, this is Brian Pomeranning from Franklin Rugby, from Rich Beck's understudy. Happy to be a member of the board here. Yeah, just talk a little bit about the hopes and dreams for the U12, U14 season this year. Going back to February 2020, we actually had a meeting about getting together a tackle rugby program and had some good discussions around that. And then, of course, the whole world fell apart around us and we didn't get to make that happen. So I think the plan will be to get everybody together around the table again on a call and just discuss our plans going forward. Like a phoenix, we'll look to rise from the ashes this spring and do something. So we'll monitor the situation very closely and determine what's going to be feasible. But ultimately, Even if it's not tackle, if it's flag, or if it's some other alternative, it'd just be nice to get the kids out and get them playing. Sick of my son sitting in front of video games, so it's time to get them out there. I'm sure many of you feel the same. So I think, look, I'll be reaching out to. I'm just going to mention some of the people that were on that call or were invited to that call last time. So if there's anybody that I'm missing, please reach out to me and let me know, or just contact KJ and she can put you in touch with me. But we had Paul McDevitt, Mike Eisenhart, Owen Reese, Chris Washburn, Rich Beck, Bob Schur, Greg Eisenhart, and Ryan Murphy were all invited to that call. So if there's others that I'm missing and there's an interest in U12, U14, please get in touch with me, and we'll work to get something together and probably shortly after the holidays to start to figure out a plan.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
And
just to add to that, if you've had changes in your team's administration, whether it be a head coach or the administrator, whoever you want to be the main contact with Rugby New Jersey, the current list that I have is on our website. So check there. If it has changed, just drop me a note so that I can certainly update the website, so we have a current list of the contacts. Okay. And we will move on to Terry Matthews with our high school season, both boys, girls club and single school. Terry?
Okay. Those of you who have been on these at these AGMs over the years know that I usually manage to bring a bunch of schedules and piss a lot of people off. This year, I don't have any schedules to annoy you, and I just want to give you the background. The state of New Jersey, for those of you who aren't involved in high school athletics, has pushed its winter season back. You saw the governor and his declaration that there would be no sports for the month of December. What's happened is the state pushed back its fall season, and now the winter seasons have been pushed back as well. So just to give you some perspective, ice hockey was supposed to start December 14th with practice. Competition was supposed to start January 4th, and competition was supposed to end February 17th. Somehow they think they're still going to have a semblance of a hockey season. I'm not sure how that's going to impact everything, but it's definitely going to push hockey back, if they do, probably into the first week of March. Basketball and bowling are January 11th practice start, January 26th competition start, March 6th season end. Swimming and winter track and field, February 1st practice start, February 16th competition start, March 27th end of a season. And then gymnastics, girls volleyball, and wrestling, March 1st practice start, March 16th competition start, April 24th competition end. Why is that significant? Because I do know that there's a significant athlete transfer from track and field, wrestling, all right, and basketball and hockey in some cases. So it's going to be kind of a hit or miss situation. The one thing I can tell you is that the schools will not be allowed to start competition until the actual spring season. The state is having a meeting on December 20th where they're going to announce the spring season, where the starts are going to be for boys volleyball, boys and girls track and field, baseball, softball, and lacrosse. So I can't really give you a schedule until I have an idea as to when the actual spring season is going to start, because at least that impacts directly the high schools. We had a conference as a board regarding whether or not we would hold the clubs to the same standard, because we always want to have the same seasonality. We came to the conclusion that we would not do that to the clubs. We've already lost a spring season of rugby. We don't want to run the risk of losing another group of players, but that's going to create some give and take. People are going to have to understand that there is not going to be any concept of fair. All right. So before people start getting into, well, it's not fair that they get the start at this time, and life's not fair right now. All right. Just accept it and move forward. All right. We're doing this in the best interest of rugby, and that's going to be the clubs are going to be able to start when they want. All right. Probably I wouldn't recommend, given the landscape, that the clubs start before February 1st. All right. But once I get an idea of the actual seasonality, all right, I'm going to reach out to the club coaches and have a meeting with the club coaches to decide what they think would be the best time to start actual competitions based on that athlete transfer. Because if you're relying on some of those high school athletes that normally would be done with their seasons by the time your club season starts, I don't want to do something that's going to prevent clubs from fielding teams because their players are still involved with their high school programs and may not want or be, quote unquote, allowed to participate in a club outside of the season. I do know that some of the schools are not permitting. And while this doesn't directly impact the clubs like it does the high school, it does because some of the schools are not allowing their student athletes to play club of anything during the same season, all right, as the sport in which they're playing, because it hurts with their ability, they think, all right, to do contact tracing. So, for example, a number of high schools are not allowing hockey players to participate with their hockey clubs at the same time that they're playing with their high school teams. That's usually not been an issue, but there's a concern of not being able to follow the contact tracing in case of any kind of COVID outbreak. So therefore, they're trying to just keep it team to team and not have outliers of not being able to trace back. Whether you agree or disagree with that is irrelevant at this point because that's what they're doing. All right. So I just want to kind of put that out there that I can't give you a schedule probably until January. I'll do this year with actual meeting with the clubs. I'm going to need some kind of feedback from our clubs to see who's viable and who's not. I think that with this season, I know a couple of clubs worked together last year, exchanging players, just making it work. That may be something we want to consider with regard to a season. If we're going to have a championship, there'll be a separate championship days. We will not have our super championship day that we've had. It's just not realistic, with the clubs starting earlier and the high schools not starting probably until May. Remember that based on graduation dates, the NJSIAA allows schools to compete up to June 30th. So I anticipate that baseball, softball, track and field are going to have extended seasons through June. So again, that may impact. So the bottom line is a lot of stuff is still in flux for the spring. But we are aware and we're tracking everything that's going on. And this is going to require a lot of cooperation among our coaches and our teams if we're going to pull this off in the springtime. So we're hoping to be able, as Jen said, there may be 7s or 10s with girls like we've done in the past, depending on numbers. Clubs will be allowed to start earlier than the high school teams. That will prohibit crossover games, likelihood between clubs and high schools as we've done in the past. There'll be 2 distinct club and high school seasons based on what's projected right now. And we're just going to wait until December 20th until the state hands down its spring season outline. Any questions from anybody? Okay.
Any sense? Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just trying to get off. I mean, you know, any sense of like playing the sevens if we have to or something? I think recruiting is just going to be very, very challenging for all the reasons you laid out and more, to get 23 dudes or 20 or 18 or a reasonable number to have subs for 15s. It's going to be super duper hard. So any sense we might just run sevens through the spring as a sort of compromise? Or
I think it's going to have to be based on a conversation with everybody. I normally would, you know, come down super hard and say absolutely not, but I think that we have to be really flexible. Again, the goal is to play rugby in some form so that we don't lose another season of rugby.
Terry, I think
Pat.
It's really critical for us to realize that we have to be as flexible as possible. As I said, like our job is to facilitate our athletes. So whatever we have to do that, that's what we're going to do. And it will require people, you know, being far more flexible than they were in the past, but that's the attitude we all have to have. Otherwise, we're just not going to make progress. Our goal is to get our kids on the field. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I just think so. Yes, for some of you who are putting up some questions about sevens, yeah, we'll absolutely consider it. I'd like to wait until we get a little closer to see what the numbers are projected for some of the clubs. You have to register. Make sure that you know, and I apologize for getting on late. I had a family situation. But you have to register your clubs. You have to have a registered coach. Your players have to be registered. We're not going to have anything going on with unregistered players or coaches or teams. So if you need to take this time up and through January to get all your stuff done that way, please do so. But I will tell you, there'll be no players stepping on the field who aren't registered. There'll be no coaches on the sideline who aren't registered. So please make sure that you take care of that in the meantime. Hopefully when we get a little, you know, into January, we'll have an idea as to what the numbers are, which may dictate what we do. You know, this may impact whether we have a truly formal season in the spring. You know, if we have, you know, 8 teams total between high schools and clubs, hypothetically here, all right, I'm just throwing a number out at random, and 6 of them are really purely sevens or even 10s squads, then maybe we play 10s and 7s. And the 15 teams can, you know, they can play friendlies on the weekend. Again, everything is going to go back to, we really have to be super flexible. And nobody's going to be able to dictate to another team, you know, the old, listen, well, if, you know, you don't show up with enough kids, then, you know, I have the automatic win, and all. We got to really work together, I think, if we want to save our sport. This isn't, and I'm not being melodramatic. All right. We lost an entire spring season last year. All right. And for a lot of us, it's recruiting, you know, at 0 again. So we've really got to work together to make sure that this works. It's not really about your team success this year as much as it's about New Jersey's rugby program's success. You know, so please keep that in your minds as we move forward. This is about, you know, not just building rugby as our mission has been in the past. It's reestablishing rugby and then building off of that. So let's kind of work that way. And again, as we get close into January, you know, I'll reach out to the coaches again.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Terry. Certainly a lot of work to do there, but I'm sure over the next few weeks, we'll have some more information and be able to, you know, put a plan together. But certainly, please encourage your players to register, your coaches to register, so that we have working numbers to work with for our planning. All right, let's see. So here's some good news after that. With the folding of the Central Jersey or Ridge Rugby's program, they have donated all of the rugby equipment to Rugby, New Jersey. And initially, when we heard about this and when I spoke with John Sable, he said, I have a trailer and there's some equipment in it. And when I went down to look at it, I was overwhelmingly surprised at how much equipment actually was in there. We really thought from our conversation, this would be kind of like a storage unit for us. But when we saw what was in there, we were like, this needs to get out to the community. Our board really gave this a lot of thought on how to get it out into the community. And we really thought that putting out a request for proposals for the rugby equipment through a grant process was the best way to go about it. So I have sent you all out photos of all the equipment, a very simple application process. And we would love to see every club make a request for something that is available. We do have a committee out of the board that will be reviewing the applications using a metrics to really look at the club's sustainability in their 3-year vision of where they plan to be or hope to be. And we'll go from there. So any questions on this aspect, this grant proposal, the equipment that was in there? No?
KJ, I just asked that, well, really not an ask, but just wondering how much interest is out there amongst the clubs to obtain this gear. I mean, it's fantastic. So we'd want to snatch it up at Morris, but, Troy made the point that some other clubs might be more needy than we are.
I haven't.
We covet the scrummaging machine, but I'm sure everybody does.
We haven't received any proposals yet. So right now, everything's up for grabs.
And one of the criteria, KJ, if I might just mention, one of the criteria is need. So when we start to get in the applications, if there's a more established club that maybe we don't think needs it as much as an up and coming club, that'll be a consideration.
And that's January 15th, right? That's the date that is the submission? Correct. Okay.
All right, so you've got a couple of weeks to think about it. If any of you want to see the equipment, everything except the scrum machine is in my driveway. I live in Denville. I have a Rockaway mailing address. You're more than welcome to come up and look at it if you'd like. The scrum machine is still at the field at the VA, Lions VA. So that's sitting there. Right. And I think that is it. Certainly, again, I want to thank you all for your time, your effort. The board has been fabulous. I think we really got an exciting plan. Hopefully, the world will work with us so that we can start to give some more children the opportunity to play this game. We are looking for ideas. Please keep the communication open and let us know how we can help you. I'll take one more peek in the chat. I don't see any questions. Anybody just want to unmute and yell something out?
Yeah, KJ, I just want to say that I think there is an opportunity out of all the issues that COVID's created to find a silver lining for rugby recruitment. And I'll just speak on local terms. I've had a number of dads that are involved with the football program, the youth football program in my town, that have approached me about rugby for the spring, just not knowing what the landscape might be for all sports. So just putting it out there to everyone on the group here that there may be an opportunity to jump on youth football programs right now to attract athletes for the spring. And you know, I'm sure everyone's thinking the same, but you know, just saying that I've had a number of dads approach me for spring rugby, for one, asking whether it's going to be viable or not, but also just inquiring about rugby in general. So there may be a silver lining in this whole thing.
Well, I hope so. I truly hope so. The other thing is, I think we have to keep our current players engaged. So find ways, you know, to do that. Certainly safe, but, you know, there's a lot we can do. So, you know, get a little creative and go from there. So with that, I will wish everyone a very happy holiday season. Please be safe. Enjoy the time with your family, and we will, our next board meeting will be in January. In between now and then, if any thoughts come flying out, pass them on. So thank you again, and everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you.
Right.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, KJ.
Just